Imagine if out of nowhere, Earth's gravity simply stopped existing. You're walking down the street and suddenly your feet lift off the ground. Your phone slips from your hand and floats upward. The ocean turns into a hovering sphere and buildings begin to disintegrate. The entire world literally starts to fly. Sounds like a scene from a movie? Hold on, because what you're about to discover is even more insane. Imagine that the force holding everything in place suddenly disappears. The consequences would be immediate and absolutely catastrophic. Without gravity, Earth's atmosphere would no longer be contained. Within minutes, the air would begin escaping into space. It would be like popping a balloon. The oxygen you breathe would vanish rapidly. People would pass out in seconds. Death by asphyxiation would become inevitable for anyone not in a completely sealed environment. The oceans would behave like massive blobs of water floating in space. The water would expand and form giant spheres, which would break apart into billions of suspended droplets, a spectacle as surreal as it is deadly. And with no atmosphere to reflect light, Earth would plunge into an unusual darkness. Earth's geological layers, from crust to core, rely on gravity to stay intact. Without it, the planet wouldn't just crack, it would break into pieces. And those pieces would drift off in unpredictable directions. It would be a literal dismantling of the planet, like taking it apart piece by piece. Earth would still be spinning for a while. Even without gravity, it would continue rotating due to inertia. But this means that everything not firmly attached, including people, would be hurled in the opposite direction of the planet's rotation, like being launched off a spinning ride gone mad. Our bodies were shaped by gravity. Our blood circulation, our muscles, even how we walk. Without it, the effects would be devastating. Blood would stop circulating properly and would pool in the upper body, especially the brain. This would cause swelling, intense headaches, and rapid loss of consciousness. Bones and muscles, without gravitational resistance, would begin to deteriorate. The human body would become weak in just a few hours. The digestive system would collapse. Without gravity, the muscle movements that push food through the intestines, peristalsis, would be severely affected. Without Earth's gravity, satellites and space stations would lose their orbit. They would simply drift away in straight lines, following their previous momentum. The International Space Station, for example, would be flung away from Earth. The Moon would stop orbiting Earth and drift off on a chaotic path through space. Depending on its new trajectory, it could collide with another planet, fall into the Sun, or disappear into the vastness of the cosmos. Birds, insects, even fish, all would be thrown into the air and beyond. Loose objects would become deadly projectiles. Cars, furniture, rocks, everything would become a floating threat. Imagine buildings collapsing in slow motion with debris flying in all directions. And animals? They would suffer the same effects as humans. Many would die instantly from lack of oxygen or due to the sudden environmental change. A tragic, brutal scenario. In less than 1 minute without gravity, the world would already be unrecognizable. In 5 minutes, the atmosphere would be almost completely gone. In 10 minutes, the oceans would be escaping into space. In 1 hour, Earth would be completely shattered, with its fragments drifting aimlessly through the galaxy. The only chance would be inside a fully sealed facility, like a space station or an artificial habitat with a controlled atmosphere. Even so, living on Earth as we know it would be impossible. Now, imagine an unlikely scenario. Gravity returns after a few minutes. What would happen? Everything that had been floating would be violently pulled back to the ground. People, buildings, oceans, all crashing down with unimaginable force. It would be like a reverse apocalypse, an instant collapse with no possibility of recovery. Fortunately, gravity isn't something that can just be turned off. It's a result of mass, the mass of celestial bodies. For Earth's gravity to vanish, the planet would have to lose all its mass, which is physically impossible to happen out of nowhere. But imagining this scenario is a powerful way to understand the importance of gravity and how we rely on it for everything. Can you imagine a world where everything you know, the air, the ground, even your own body, suddenly stops following the laws that govern life? Gravity may be invisible, but without it, not even the idea of being alive would exist. If you enjoyed this journey into the impossible, make sure to subscribe. We've got plenty more intriguing theories, curious facts, and mind-bending thought experiments waiting for you. And of course, if you liked the video, hit that like button. It might seem like just a click, but it tells the algorithm that thinking is still worth it. So, tell me, will you agree with everything in the next theory, or walk away with more questions than answers? Either way, the next journey is already being prepared. See you in the next episode, right here. And don't forget to watch this other video right here. You'll be amazed by what we reveal about the moon. Until the next journey into the unknown.